Welcome in. It is time for our Big 12 football week one picks against the spread. I'm Pete Mundo, HeartlandCollegeSports.com. It is great to be with you as we finally get you set for some college football. I can't believe it. It's here this week. Normally we'll do this show probably on Thursdays, but with two Big 12 games on Thursday and a couple of Big 12 games on Friday, I said, let's do this game on Wednesday. And let's get this thing rolling. We are on YouTube Live. We're on the podcast. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. As I promised you, a lot more content's coming your way on YouTube. All right, on the podcast as well. If you're on the podcast, leave that rating and review and get a free Heartland College Sports koozie. When you leave that rating and review, and send me a screenshot to Pete Mundo, Mundo, at HeartlandCollegeSports.com. All right, shall we get right to it? West Virginia Pitt backyard brawl is back, baby. And I'm so fired up. You know what I'm most fired up about? I am fired up about the fact that I think West Virginia set to turn the corner. I believe that Neil Brown is finally set to make his mark. I'm not saying 8-9 wins or anything like that, but get this thing moving in the right direction because of his quarterback. If he keeps JT Daniels upright and healthy behind a solid returning offensive line, this team can make a jump. And no coach needs a week one win more than Neil Brown. You know, he's got to start turning this thing around. And the backyard brawl is a heck of a way to do it and a great way to start it. And you think about this Pittsburgh team, it's not last year's Pitt team. It's not. A lot of new pieces, a lot of new parts, a lot of guys lost to the portal. We know all those stories by now. Big pieces lost to the portal. All right, so this is not last year's team. It's just not. So now we got to look at it and say, okay, it's not last year's team. We all know that. We're all well aware of that at this point. So why are the Mountaineers getting no love? I'm taking West Virginia +7 in this game. I'm just doing it. I love their defensive front. Secondary is all new pieces, but guys who have experience at other levels. That's important. Veteran guys. And then on top of that, you know, home field for Pitt's not going to be much. Mountaineers fans are going to show up in a big way at Heinz Field for this game. And I like the Mountaineers +7 against Pittsburgh on the road on Thursday night. Next up, Oklahoma State taking on Central Michigan. All right. I know we all don't want to go back to 2016 and repeat that debacle if you're an Oklahoma State fan. But here's why I like Central Michigan +20.5. Central Michigan's 5-0 in its last 5 games against the spread. You have a situation at Oklahoma State with new faces, new pieces, most notably, of course, on defense, right? Led by Derek Mason. You have a great offensive line, but you still have other pieces you got to replace. Cowboys lost their top 4 tacklers. We know that. Central Michigan, yes, was hurt badly in the portal to the NFL draft, but they return enough good offensive parts to make this competitive. You've got Daniel Richardson, a quarterback, a veteran guy. You have Lou Nichols, who led the nation in rushing last season, and a secondary that's pretty strong. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, Oklahoma State not going to open up the playbook in week one. Central Michigan's not a walkover opponent. If I can get nearly 3 touchdowns in this game on a Thursday night, you take it. So I am going to roll in that game with Central Michigan +20.5. They buy the point to get to 21 just to be safe. So let's go. Let's buy the half a point. Central Michigan +21 on the road against Oklahoma State in this game. And these week one games are crapshoot. I mean, a lot of them are crapshoots. Let's be honest. They're tough, but I'm here to make the tough picks. I'm not backing off of anything. I'm doing all the games no matter what. I mean, the Big 12 FCS games are always tricky. When you got lines of 30, 40, 45 points, you know, you got to just go with your gut in some of these games. Let's go to Friday night. Friday night, Kansas is a 27.5-point favorite against somebody. Can you believe it? And guess what? I'm taking it. I'm taking Kansas -27.5 against Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech is 0-20 in its last 20 September games. It's a bad football program. KU closed last year with a 4-2 record against the spread. This is not your father's Kansas Jayhawks. All right. It's not your older brother's Kansas Jayhawks. Probably a better way to put it. This is a Kansas Jayhawks team that is being built the right way under Lance Leipold, that has a quarterback in Jalen Daniels, that has good pieces through the transfer portal. Guys like Kai Thomas from Minnesota at running back. They have got solid pieces there. I'm telling you, they do. And they are going up against a really bad team. They're at home on a Friday night. And yes, amazingly, I am going to take the Kansas Jayhawks to cover a 27.5-point spread. Next up, TCU taking on Colorado on the road. All right, here's the deal. TCU, you heard from Sonny Dykes that he's going to play both quarterbacks on Friday night. That tells me he feels good about this game. If he feels like he can play Max Duggan and then get in Chandler Morris, then that means TCU is in a spot where they can likely win this game in comfortable fashion. They're 11-point favorites on the road. All right, that's a very good place to be for TCU. Colorado's not a good team. They're just not. All right. If there's a weakness for TCU right now, you'd have to look at the defensive line. That's where you'd have to look. So if you want Colorado to win this game, it's going to have to be because they're able to kind of just get this thing going behind a revamped offensive line led by Alabama transfer Tommy Brown, and they're able to grind out a win and slow down the TCU offense just enough to at least make it competitive. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Sonny Dykes is going to have this offense revamped. I think TCU fans are going to be shocked by what they see on that side of the ball because there's talent on that side of the ball. But Gary Patterson just couldn't get that talent going. He could not harness that talent in an effective way. So, and that's why he's not the head coach anymore. So I'm going to roll with TCU minus 11 against Colorado on Friday night. Before we get to the Saturday games, speaking of betting, let me tell you about one of our great new sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're in Kansas right now, Sportsbooks is coming to the Sunflower State, all right? And right now, you'll receive $100 in free bets when you sign up in Kansas using our code HCS. Plus, one lucky customer is going to win a $100,000 free bet. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook's giving you $100 in free bets, and one lucky winner is going to be winning a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. How about that? So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, sign up with our code HCS, and get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. All right? Plus, one customer wins a $100,000 free bet. Code HCS at DraftKings. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700. 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. One per customer, $100 issued as 4 $25 free bets. No purchase necessary for sweepstake. Void where prohibited. And this first day, DraftKings is allowed to operate in Kansas. See terms at dkng.co/KS. Let's get to the Saturday games. Iowa State, 38.5-point favorites against Southeast Missouri State. You can't take Iowa State in week one. You can't do it. All right? It's like the old "is Texas back" thing. I got to see it to believe it. I've got to see Iowa State blow out an opponent in week one to believe it. And I love Iowa State. I love Matt Campbell. But if there's a weakness for Matt Campbell, it's week one against really bad opponents. It's week one against FCS opponents. I know Southeast Missouri State is not much of a team. I don't really need to know much about Southeast Missouri State. This is a pick because Matt Campbell, first off, not a great week one team. A lot of new pieces, brand new quarterback. Iowa in week two, he's not going to open up the playbook in any meaningful way. So, I love Iowa State. I think they're going to hit the over on 7.5 wins this year, but I'm not picking them to cover 38.5 points in week one based on Matt Campbell's week one track record. I just can't do that. Oklahoma, UTEP. All right. Oklahoma is a big favorite, but I like the Sooners minus 30.5 against UTEP. UTEP played last week, and they lost to North Texas 31-13. You can't look at trends here. You just can't. Brent Venables, new guy in town. I believe that he is going to try to make a statement at home week one, first game in front of the OU faithful. That's the situation I see for Oklahoma and UTEP on Saturday afternoon. All right. I just think that Brent Venables is going to show you something on defense that Oklahoma fans haven't seen since the Bob Stoops era. And that's going to be a hard-nosed toughness that just has not been there. And OU fans are going to eat it up. And the offense is going to be just fine. So I think Oklahoma's in a very nice position here in this game. And it will cover the 30.5 points against a UTEP team that already has played a game. You can say that's good or bad, but I think it's bad when you lost to North Texas 31-13. Then going into Norman, Oklahoma a week after that. K-State taking on South Dakota. So here's a tidbit for you. And I like K-State this season, but you want a great tidbit on South Dakota? South Dakota in the last 6 years is 5-1 against the spread in week one. They play higher competition tough. It's what they do. They played Kansas tough last year. They lost by 3. I know you want to say it's Kansas, fine. But I'm getting 25 with South Dakota. K-State, new offense, Colin Klein, Adrian Martinez getting comfortable. Chris Kleiman, has Mizzou on deck. Is he going to open things up with Mizzou right around the corner at home? This is one of those games that you win by 17 to 20 points. You're happy, and you move on to week 2. That's what you do in this game. South Dakota is going to play hard. I like South Dakota plus 25 against Kansas State in this one on Saturday. All right. Let's see here. What do we have? Oh, Baylor and Albany. Baylor minus 41.5 against Albany. Oh, gosh. The bigger it gets, the more I hate it. And boy, do I hate it. I hate everything about it. 41.5. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Please don't make me do it. Do I do it? Do I lay the 41.5? That is such a massive number. Here's the thing about Albany. They're coming off a 2-9 season last year. Now, they play in one of the better FCS conferences, the CAA. All right? They were picked to finish 12th in the coaches poll, in the preseason poll. You're going up against a Baylor team that can play in the college football playoff if all goes well this year. I believe Baylor is going to win the Big 12. So I'm laying the 41.5. All right? That's what I'm doing. I'm laying it. And I'm all in on Baylor. If I'm picking them to win the Big 12, I got to pick them to drop the 41.5. Let's go, Bears. They'll cover that 41.5 point spread. Next up, Texas and Louisiana Monroe. Oh, baby. Texas is a 38.5 point favorite in this one. 38.5 points. That's a big number. All right. Now, here's the deal, though. Here's where I look at this game and I say, Louisiana Monroe is not a good team, but it's a tough team to scheme for right now because they've got new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Rich Rod, yes, that Rich Rod, was the OC there. He left for Jacksonville State. So they got a new OC in Matt Kubik, and they have a new defensive coordinator as well in Vic Koenig. Remember, Vic Koenig was at West Virginia. And he left in 2019 after allegations of player mistreatment. But, he was a good DC. And you don't really know how to scheme for a guy. And Steve Sarkisian admitted as much. Steve Sarkisian said this week, a really veteran staff of new coordinators, obviously challenging when you're trying to prepare for the team. So that's a tough spot. On top of that, Texas has Alabama next week. Texas wants to get everybody out of here healthy, get them some reps, get a win, and then start game planning for Alabama. That's it. I like Louisiana Monroe plus 38.5. It's just too big a number for all those reasons I just mentioned. Way too big a number. Texas wins this game, maybe it's 38-14, something like that. But with Alabama on deck, get guys reps, keep them healthy, and move on to week 2. Keep it very vanilla. That's all you're trying to do if you're Steve Sarkisian in this game. I like Louisiana Monroe plus 38.5. Texas Tech against Murray State, the last one. Let's do that. Texas Tech and Murray State. It's a big number, 31.5 points. Murray State, Texas Tech's going to win this game. All right, there's no doubt about it. Texas Tech is this game. The next question then becomes, by how much? That's the only question here. Now, you look at Murray State and don't want to sugarcoat it. They're coming to Lubbock to get beat. If they can stay within 20 points, that's a big win. But I don't see this game being close. I just have a hard time seeing this game being competitive at all. That's the kind of place where I think Joey McGuire is going to try to send a message here. I think Joey McGuire is going to try to send a message that tables have turned, new sheriff in town, whatever cliche you want to use, and he's going to roll. So I like Texas Tech in this game to cover the 31 points on Saturday against Murray State. So let me give you my picks again. West Virginia +7 at Pitt. Central Michigan +21 against Oklahoma State by the half a point. Kansas -27.5 against Tennessee Tech. Southeast Missouri +38.5 against Iowa State. TCU -11 at Colorado. Oklahoma -30.5 against UTEP. South Dakota +25 against K-State. Baylor -41.5 against Albany. Louisiana Monroe +38.5 against Texas. And Texas Tech -31 against Murray State. There you have it. I'm Pete Mundo, HeartlandCollegeSports.com. If you're on the podcast, leave us a rating and review. Send me a screenshot to Pete Mundo, MUNDO, at HeartlandCollegeSports.com. We'll get you hooked up right away with the Heartland College Sports koozie. And if you're on YouTube, like the video. That helps us a lot. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. A lot more content's coming your way here on the YouTube channel, so be sure you're tuned into all that. And don't forget about our sponsors at DraftKings. Use our promo code HCS if you're in Kansas to get $100 in free bets. We appreciate you guys. Look forward to the games. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.